right, let me call to order this meeting of the Gloucester Board of Health. It is Thursday, March 14th, 2024, and roughly 6:15 in the evening. We're in the Harbor Masters Conference Room. And this is a hybrid meeting. The public is welcome to attend this meeting in person. However, there's also a Zoom link to access the meeting remotely. Please note that the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. So next item on the agenda is a roll call on attendance. The entire board is in attendance with the exception of Thor Ackerley, who has a conflict. But before we go around the table and introduce everyone, I want to make special notice of two new people. One, a Board of Health member, a new Board of Health member, and also a new staff member. New Board of Health member is Erin George. We're very pleased to have her join us. She has a lot of experience in social sciences, something that is not in abundance on the existing board, so that's a welcome addition. Erin currently works at Action, primarily focusing on housing, the emergency shelter and Action's affordable housing units. So bringing housing to our expertise, level of expertise is terrific because it is an issue in the city. Erin holds a master's degree in social work from Salem State and has a certificate in social impact management and leadership through the Institute for Nonprofit Practice from Tufts University. She is also a licensed independent clinical social worker and obviously bringing expertise in housing and homeless services, advocacy, crisis intervention, harm reduction. All these things are terrific and really strengthen the board. So welcome, Erin. Hopefully the rest of the board members will introduce themselves and get to meet you. Dominique, I'll leave it to you to introduce our other new member of the staff.
Thanks, Jim.
Danielle Larrabee.
Danielle, who you can't see, she's off camera. Maybe you could lean in a little bit. There you go, Danielle. Danielle is a recent graduate from UMass Amherst. She's a Gloucester resident. She is going to be our administrative assistant level 3 and has already provided incredible value in the few days she's been here. Danielle brings to the table a master's in public health and a deep interest in learning how operations of health departments run. So we're really pleased to have her join us and welcome. Thank you. Hi again.
So returning to the agenda, let's quickly go around the room, starting with Dominique, introducing ourselves.
Dominique Hurley, Director of Public Health.
Joe Rosa, Chair of the Board.
Erin George, you just heard my introduction, new Board of Health member.
Marco Pellizzolo, board member. Eric Kaplan, board member, and I passed long ago graduate of UMass Amherst.
Cindy Junker, public health nurse.
David Tucker, Youth Development Coordinator.
Leslie Whalen, Title V Sanitarian.
Gabrielle White, Assistant Health Director.
Bree Turco, Health Inspector.
Jacob Taylor, Food and Health Inspector.
Danielle Larrabee, again, Administrative Assistant.
Great. The next item on the agenda is public oral communication. That's an opportunity for anyone to, in the public, to speak for up to 3 minutes on an item that is not on the agenda.
We don't have any other attendees except for
Okay.
the public hearing later.
Seeing no one, we'll move on to the approval of the February 1st meeting minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes from February 1st.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Marco. Any discussion, changes, edits? All in favor? Eric?
Eric, yes. Marco, yes.
Erin, you can abstain.
Yes, since I wasn't
And
here.
Joe Rosa, yes. So the meeting minutes are accepted as written. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding 50 Hilltop Road and the requested septic variances.
Bob, I'm glad that you were able to join as a panelist with no trouble.
Yes.
Oh, welcome.
For the record, my name is Bob Grassel from Engineering Land Services. We're representing 50 Hilltop Road for a septic system replacement. This is a continuation from a subcommittee meeting, the last one that we had there. I explained to the members the constraints of the size and the constraints of this lot. This lot only consists of 5,250 square feet. It has an existing dwelling, two-bedroom dwelling on it. And it has right now, it has a septic tank / leach pit with basically a cesspool with no septic leach area. It has a well located on the site. I'm wondering if I could if I could share my screen with you, or I'm not sure if I can do that.
We're gonna try to make it happen.
Okay. So I share, and just wonder if I can bring that. Can you bring that up? Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, here we go. Let me just bring that up a little bit. I forgot. See. All right, so we're out there with Leslie. We conducted 4 deep holes, one that was actually in the leach area, proposed leach area, and 3 that were in the private paperway right of way. It's not developed. It's a wooded right of way. Like I said, the existing septic system is a tank and a leach pit / cesspool. So what we're proposing to do is replace the septic tank leach pit with a 2,000 gallon combination tank, a 1,500 gallon holding tank with a 500 gallon pump chamber, and pump it up to a D box to a Presby Enviro septic system, which is 27 feet long by 15 feet wide. And we're also providing a liner around the back of the system, because towards the road is level, and then where the system would going, it starts sloping down towards the right of way there on the side of the house. There's an existing shed shown in brown. I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yep.
Okay, right there. That will be relocated over here. So we're putting a poly liner around the system on the back, on the side, to protect the cellar in the back, and also this side. The edge of pavement is shown right here in the brown, and actually the blackish shaded right here. Up there, it was basically a subdivision created all at once, and then they actually built the road and actually made the road go around ledge outcrops, and so the existing pavement isn't exactly in the right of way in sections of the Hilltop Road right of way. During that test pit right there, this is the shaded, this lot right like this is their current parking. So we did a test pit right at the edge of the parking. With this proposed system, we're proposing to move the parking in front of the house, shown right here with all the hexagon symbols right here. That's their existing well. The water enters the cellar through here, and that would be, let's see, read that. That's 50 feet to the proposed leach area. So it'll be a raised system, other than towards the street, which will be level, and it actually slopes down. So the highest point of the system will be at the back edge, and then we slope it at 3-to-1, and we're within 0.5 of the right of way, which is undeveloped wooded So I don't see any problem in that. It's undeveloped, so there's nothing that's gonna be affected here. So what we're proposing to do is ask for some variances because it's such a stringent, the lot is a rectangular, is a triangular shaped lot. There's not much to work with. We're making a situation better from actually the pipe coming right out here, going in a tank and just going directly in the ground. There's no treatment, there's just directly in the ground. And we're actually proposing a 2-foot separation between the water table and the bottom of the Presby system. And the Presby system was first developed in New Hampshire, up in the White Mountains, in Whitefield, near the mountain there. I forget the mountain, Whitefield, New Hampshire. And they've been developed for 30 years now, and it finally came to Mass and then to other states, and it's worldwide. McDonald's use them, Dunkin' Donuts use them, so the commercial, industrial, residential, Mount Washington Hotel, that's where the Whitefield is. They actually have a Presby system with all those bedrooms and the restaurants, and that's where it was developed. He was part owner of the Mount Washington Hotel. So we have existing wells around. They basically were camp lots converted into house lots up there. They have a seasonal water line shown right here that gets turned off in the winter, and then they start using the wells. But Joe, the owner, did some research at the water department, and they got a grant of $15 million to bring municipal water up to Hilltop. And they're basically on the bottom on Atlantic Street, and they're working their way up towards Hilltop. It's going to be quite a mission because there is some ledge up there. The traffic flow through Hilltop is probably 10 miles an hour because it's so curvy and it's narrow, so you really can't go a great amount of speed limit. It's very high. It's called Hilltop for a purpose. So we're asking for the waivers that I sent out to the abutters, a package, a letter stating the meeting time, the plan itself reduced, and all the list of waivers blown up in one package to the abutters with green cards. And I sent the proof of mailings to Leslie prior to this meeting. So we're doing the best we can for a situation that's obviously just one septic tank and a cesspool. We're trying to do maximum feasible compliance to meet all the standards, but unfortunately we can't. So that's why it's a septic system upgrade, and we're asking for variances to the code. It's not new construction, so it's basically replacing a system for an existing dwelling.
So Bob, this is Joe Rosa.
Yeah.
I see two problematic variances. One is the groundwater separation. The regulations call for 4 feet. You need to get to 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And was that 2 feet? He wants 2 feet, right?
And normally that would be allowed. We would be comfortable with that, given an installation of an advanced system.
Mm-hmm.
But it's further complicated by the variances needed to protect the wells. Instead of 100 feet, I think you're down to 50
Well,
feet.
the closest one would be our well would be 50 feet. And we're also, this system, this proposed system is down gradient from all the existing wells that we're asking the variance from. So it's not like water flowing, effluent flowing towards the well, it's actually flowing down below at the rear of the house. So all the existing wells that we're asking variances are above us. So no effluent will be flowing towards their wells. And
So
we're
on
trying
your,
to, we're trying to do maximum feasible compliance, you know, to the value of the house. We're way over 10% from the quotes that Joe has been trying to obtain from licensed septic installers in Gloucester. So we're way past the 10% of maximum feasible compliance to the code.
so looking at.
And there's also water coming up there, so that would alleviate some of the, you know, that would ease off the variances. And also I've talked to Joe about the existing drinking water right now with these wells, and they're pretty bad. I mean, they don't even drink the water from the wells because it's so rusty, and it's just not safe to drink. That's what I'm hearing from Joe.
So just to be clear, the image that you're showing right now on your screen,
Mhm.
the elevation lines are to the right, so it's from the leach field, it is down that slope and off to the right. Is that correct?
That's correct. It would be level with the edge of pavement, and then it'd be level across the leach area, and then slope down towards the upper screen and then towards the right of the screen. And then, you know, like sheet flow right off the lot into the right of way, which is all heavy shrubs, trees. It's undeveloped. It's a paper road.
Is there any particular
And that's the
reason?
way it's flowing now. So we're not changing any drainage patterns. We're actually just trying to make a situation better.
Sure. Is there any particular reason why you've chosen Presby as opposed to, say, Singulaire or another system?
Well, the thing about, I have a lot of history with Presby since they got, I'm also a New Hampshire designer. Presby is one of the only I've seen that in my experience is one of the systems that if it ever failed, like pipe and stone or any type of pressure dosing systems, if they fail, then you have to rip them out, replace the sand, and replace the system again. Now at Presby, I've been to plenty of seminars with David Presby, the owner. He actually sold it to Infiltrator. But during the seminar, I've been to many seminars at Presby, and he's claiming that if this system ever was into failure, all you do is you open the end caps. Each line has a cap. These are 12-inch pipes instead of a 4-inch conventional pipe and stone. Once a pipe and stone clogs, then you just like other systems, you have to rip them out, replace it with sand, and build it all over again. These, you just take the end caps off, you let it air out for 72 hours, and it's like starting the system up from day one. So these systems, and out of all the systems we've designed, my company has designed, I have not seen one fail. But I've seen plenty of infiltrators fail. I've seen plenty of pipe and stone fail, and I've never seen one of these fail. Because what they do is they work on air, and they're non-mechanical. So they're something that you don't have to maintain, like pressure dosing. You have to maintain the pipes. You have to actually brush each line with a brush each year. So because they have these small holes, and if you get any total suspended solids that go from the tank into the system, they end up clogging the holes. And I tell you, once these are installed, owners don't do that. They just don't. Once it's in the ground, they forget about it. But with the Presby, it works on air. There's 2 vents to a Presby, whereas there is 1 vent to a conventional system. There's a vent at the very end right here. And then what we do is we vent from the D box to the tank in, and we use the house stack as the second vent. So there's constantly, the air gets sucked in through the low vent, which is 3 feet off the ground, and through the high vent up, and it exits through the high vent on top of the roof. So there's constant air, which feeds the good bacteria, which makes the biomat strive and treat the effluent. The reason why you get reduction in size on the Presby system is you get a 40% reduction compared to like pipe and stone. So if I needed a 1,000 square foot leach pipe and stone area, I could go down to 600 square feet, because instead of a 4-inch pipe, whereas the biomat from the 2, when they use Schedule 40 pipes, there's only 2 holes on the bottom of each line, and that biomat only grows on the bottom of the system. So you're only getting the leach area, like the 27 by 15 foot square rectangle area of biomat, which is the good bacteria, each the bad bacteria, the viruses, the E. coli, whatever. But on these 12-inch tubes, they have fiber and a fabric around them. So when they fill up, they grab to the sides, they go through the fiber, they start growing a biomat around the 12-inch tube on the length of the tube and also on the bottom of the tube. So you're getting that much treatment compared to just the bottom of the interface of the bottom of the leach area. And that's why these things work so well. And they're non-mechanical, so you don't have to worry about maintaining them as if you did a pre-treatment with the pressure dosing, whereas they tend to clog. And I've seen them clog. People just don't take care of them.
So Leslie, do you want to, or anyone else on the board want to
Sure.
comment?
Oh, and can I just add one more thing? When you ask for waivers, they tend to only give 1-foot waivers to pipe and stone conventional systems, but they do grant, because of this type of treatment, it's basically constructing a septic system waste treatment center, and they allow you up to 2 feet of reduction. And before Article 11, which was happened in the 60s, which came off the EPA studies, they have proven through the federal government that 1 foot of sand can treat effluent before it hits the water table. And that's just regular pipe and stone. Now, this is a completely advanced technology that can treat effluent before it hits the water table, and we're actually going 2 feet.
But as I say, that's the 2 feet might be allowed normally, but is further complicated by the distance to wells. And
Yes.
just using the regulations as written by the state, DEP, there's no reference as to whether or not you're up elevation or down, simply distance.
But the reason why we're asking for this, because they are going to install municipal water on Hilltop Road. They're working their way there now, so that will eliminate all the wells. And we're trying to do maximum feasible compliance to the code, which is, 10% of the house value, which we're way over that right now with the quotes that he's giving. And if you do a pre-treatment, then you're way, it's very, very expensive compared to the house value. I mean, the size of the leach area is basically just a little smaller than the dwelling.
No, I agree, but that, we certainly take into account the financial burden. But our primary goal here on the board is to ensure this health, safety, and environmental impact.
Well, I'm not sure how many people were on the subcommittee that the last meeting I was on. And there was plenty of members there that were saying, hey, this is the best they can do. I mean, I'm not sure if you get any feedback from them or whatever, but they were kind of in agreement on this is a good plan. They were ready to approve it, except that the mailings didn't go out in time. And that's why we're at this meeting. I don't know.
Do you happen to know, or does anyone know what the neighbors use, since they probably face this?
I have no clue. I have no.
Cesspool around the house. So for the last 50 years, there's been raw sewage leaching into the ground. Joe DeStefano, the property owner.
Ah, sorry, say that. I
There's
didn't hear what
three
you said.
abutters that have cesspools. One guy way behind us has a tight tank, which he empties probably like once a week, and it stinks the whole neighborhood stinks for like 45 minutes to an hour after. I mean, we have no problem keeping the existing system and keep dumping it. We're trying to make it better, so we plan on living there for long term, so. I wouldn't even go down this road. I mean, I'm already at like a $50,000 septic system now. So if it goes up any further, like, it's just gonna be unfeasible and cause financial hardship. And secondly, back on the meeting on February 22nd, it seemed like everybody was agreed with this plan. And if we were told back on the 22nd that there's gonna be pushback, we probably wouldn't be at this meeting today. We're just trying to make the situation better. I mean, we can keep it how it is. We moved out of the property about a year ago due to the smell of the sewage coming out of the ground as it is now. We're trying to do the best we can here, you know? I understand there's rules, regulations. I'm in the environmental business myself. I'm in the solar business, and I do wind and hydro dams, so I understand. You know, that's all I can say. That's it.
Joe, I can make a comment since I was
Sure.
at the meeting. We have Dave Sargent at the meeting too, so consultant, and he was actually for this because the existing system is horrendous. And this was a marked improvement of the system, so he thought that in order for people to live there, this is actually a much improved system, and he was for it. So just add that as my 2 cents.
Well, as you go through the priority changes or priority addressings of failed systems, tight tank is certainly the last one on the list.
That's your last resort,
As a last resort, correct.
which is not looked at as a good way of for dwellings, for people to live, because whatever goes in has to come out.
I understand.
That's very expensive. I mean, just pumping a regular tank is $450, $500.
It's not a seasonal residence. This is a full-time residence for me and my family, so I can't.
Sorry,
This is, yeah,
I'm sorry, I just.
I said, this is a full-time residence. This is not a seasonal home. It's not a cottage. It's like where we
Yeah.
live. So it's not feasible to pump it every week. I mean, I have kids doing laundry, they fill up every like 3 or 4 days. Now it's a cesspool, so all the leaches, it just goes away, right? We don't have any expense, but you do have a smell, so.
Leslie, you started to make comments.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation because on the one hand, you could put in a tight tank and then you're meeting the code the way it's written. But as these owners are describing, it's not pleasant to live with a tight tank for a
Sure.
whole host of reasons. So in my opinion, we should do everything we can to avoid a tight tank. But there are wells within 100 feet. And Title V says that you need 4 feet of groundwater separation if you're gonna have a well within 100 feet.
Right.
So I was hoping that there could be some way of getting at least another foot, somehow shifting the field further from the road, maybe using a little bit more space like up in the corner.
It's a cliff there, Leslie. I'd have to put retaining walls in. It'd be a huge expense. There's no, what you're looking at there, the elevation is like a 6 feet difference from that corner of that field where the shed is. It's just a drop off.
Is it possible to add fill? To raise the
It
level?
is, but then they
Well,
need,
can I just say that comment? One of the members from the subcommittee asked that, and I said, seeing that if we put a wall along, if we raised it up a foot, we would have to have a retaining wall, which is, it's a very narrow road. It's probably gonna get hit by a plow for safety concerns, and then fire apparatus, fire safety for police. The wall would be right up against the pavement. And I don't think, for a safety issue, I don't think that's a good idea, just especially when there's water, public municipal water coming up Hilltop.
No,
You gotta
there's no-
weigh things out, and you gotta also weigh, you know, financial things for, and plus all the wells, like as I stated before, are above us. So we're down gradient from all the wells that were less than 100 feet from. You have to take that into effect.
There's no ability to move the leach field a little bit to what appears to be the
There
east.
has been so much thought into this plan that I've been going back and forth with the consultant, Isaac DeRoe. We've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and this is it. I mean, this is all we can do. I've done 32 revisions for the first revision. We got it down to 20, then we got it down to 10, and then this is it. I mean, we've worked
Specifically,
through.
my question, can you answer my question? Is it
Sure.
possible to move the leach field to the east?
No, without constructing a retaining wall, which would be, you know, re-rods, footings. That's an added expense to what the quotes he's getting now. I mean, it's just not maximum feasible compliance. It's just, we're trying to make a situation better. That's all we're trying to do.
Yeah,
Then what's
we're
there
trying
now?
to maintain environmental health.
Can I ask you a question? Just,
Yeah,
so if everybody around me has a cesspool that's leaching into the ground, right? And they grandfathered in, if I never touch this thing, I'd be all set, right? So I can just keep it how it is. So by
but it's
making,
in failure, I understand.
yeah, but what I'm
Yeah,
saying is
so you
everybody
can't
else,
keep it as it is.
everybody around us has a cesspool probably from the 50s, right?
Are they in failure?
I have no idea. But I'm.
Oh, I guarantee they're in failure.
So open pit means it's leaching to the ground, correct? All these cesspools are made out of like cinder blocks in that area. They're made by like my great grandfather's friends, right? They're constructed by themselves, cinder block like the one I have, open pit with gravel bottom, right? So they're all leaching into the ground. Nobody up there, I've never seen. My aunt owned this house for 60 years, since it was built, right? So no one's ever had a pump truck up there pumping out these cesspools, which tells me they don't fill up. They leach into the ground.
Sure.
And there's absolutely no treatment after the effluent. There's absolutely no treatment.
Look at the law the way it's written, right? And I understand that, but what we're trying to do here is like, we're literally trying to make something better. I didn't even have to get a Title V. This wouldn't even change feelings.
I agree, this proposal would definitely be a better situation than a cesspool.
1000%.
That's not the standard that we operate against. Right?
No, I understand.
So
But
that's
we're
what I'm
protect
trying
we're
to
trying
get
protect
you
water
to.
supply.
I'm trying to get the plan to the point where it meets the regulations that are outlined by the DEP. What you already have is clearly better than a cesspool. I agree with that. But
But to
we'd
say
like, like, if possible, we'd like to get to a point where we also satisfy the regulations that we have to operate under.
So let me ask this, if I bring the grade up a foot in my cover, if I bring more soil into the front of that house, the city of Gloucester actually put their road through my property, see on that property line. So I put my wall, edge of the property line, shorten the road up, right? Road was wide, and put in more fill there, would that be a solution?
Well, I think that's something to consider. Adding a foot of fill would certainly help ameliorate the 2 feet to groundwater.
But now I have to grade it out into a slope into the road that's paved on my property. So how do I handle that with like the DPW?
I don't know. That's why I was asking you whether the leach field could be moved a foot, 2 feet, however.
I wish you guys could come visit the site, because really, we've put a lot of thought into this, and there's just no room up there. There's no way to really move it. There's really nowhere to go with.
I mean, he's already moving his driveway up in front of his house. That's an expense. He's moving the shed into the rear of the house. He's taking the old septic leach pit and getting rid of that and putting a monolithic septic tank, which is Title V. The only thing we can't meet is the 4 feet to the water table, and we're asking for a waiver for that.
I have a question,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Leslie,
I'd like to ask the engineer if he's looked at the right of way and whether or not they have permission to perhaps do some of this grading into this right of way that no one's using. Is that something that?
Well,
has
that right, that pavement is there for a reason, because they worked around ledge.
Not the drive, not the road, the
Okay.
paper road.
Oh, the paper road. Okay.
Yeah. So so because you own to the middle, or the owners own to the middle,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible to, so for example, in the 3 lines that you have of, so
Contours there.
it just seems like maybe you could use that triangle that's to the north with extending some lines and maybe.
That drops off quite a
the
bit.
east.
So you need a retaining wall, which is a concrete retaining wall. Which
It looks pretty level to the triangle to the north. So I was thinking you use some of that and kept it further from the road so you could put in a wall and maybe shift it so that you could use a portion of this right of way. I'm wondering if you explored any of that.
well, would be getting closer to the abutting well north of us, which would be less than 60. We're 65 feet now, so we're getting closer to their well. We were trying to, like, we're 65, 66, 95, 52 hours. So we try to even it off with everything. So if we start pushing it towards the north, we're getting close to their well, even though it's above gradient, which I don't believe it's going to affect the wells, because we're down gradient from all the wells that we're affecting. And we're also down gradient from us.
can you point out the well that you're talking about? Is it on?
Sure. Let me see if I can roll. Yeah, right here. Right there.
Ah.
So that's 65 feet right there to that one. And we're 66 feet from this one. And we're 95 feet from this well. I was under the impression from the last committee that they said, they all looked at each other, this is the best they can do. And they were ready to vote on approving it. But we didn't file with the abutters under section 9.3 correctly. I've sent it for review, but I waited for it, but so I couldn't wait any longer, so I sent the mailings out. So we were getting positive feedback from the subcommittee, because I guess some of the people knew the section, knew the area, and they said that, hey, that's the best they can do up there. And plus, they have a $15 million grant to get water up there.
They're already on Rust Island, bringing the lines in now. They're on Concord Road right now. They should be there probably in a year. The way they're moving. And nobody, I'll tell you right now, nobody's drinking that water on that hill. And once that line comes up and the hydrants go in, everybody's hooking up to public water. Who doesn't want clean water?
Is there any estimate as to when that's gonna happen?
I seen that he has 5 years, but I heard 1 to 3 years. They're already down by Ann's Variety now, and they're cruising along. But once they hit probably Atlantic, the granite gets it's pretty dense up there, right? It's all rock ledge, so I don't, you know, I'm assuming.
What they'll do is they'll try to get down a 5-foot depth for frost, but if they don't, they'll just insulate the pipe so it doesn't freeze.
Should we open it to any public comments? Because we did notify butters. There were butters that were notified. Is it possible that any of the people there are?
There's nobody on.
Okay.
Nobody
No
on?
one cares, but all the neighbors not gonna show up to this meeting. Everybody in that hill wants a septic design at some point. For resale and just for like, you know, have a sanitary sewage system in the backyard.
You got no feedback from your neighbors?
No feedback.
Now, I've notified them 3 times, the beginning,
Green cards in the mail.
three times green cards, and not one abutter has showed up in any of the meetings.
And the closest to the butter had the tight tank and she would love to get a septic system put in, right? I mean, it's a no brainer. I mean, the day and the age that we're still going to bath in the ground in the city is kind of ridiculous to begin with. I mean, if you ask me, the $15 million, the grant, they should run sewage up there as well. I understand it's far away, but we're taxed just like every other citizen in the city.
Leslie, do you have any other comments or board members?
Exhausted this.
Leslie?
No. Well,
So, I am willing to compromise with the caveat that the wells in question all be tested before any of these changes are made. Tested for microbial contamination.
Absolutely.
They subsequently be tested after the system is turned on, and probably several times. And ideally, the homeowner would pay for it. Pay for the testing.
George, you agree to that, right?
Yeah, I agree to that. I mean, I don't know how to force someone to get in their house to pull a water sample, but I'll do my best. And to be honest, when my well went in about 25 years ago, I think we've been doing water tests and the water's terrible. I mean, it's brackish up there. I mean, you guys know the area, right? Rust Island, Hilltop Road, it's on the marsh.
Yeah.
Seeing the water, you would not take a shower. You need a tetanus shot after you take a shower on that.
Leslie, do you, what's your sense on that suggestion?
I think that's a good idea to test the water.
I have one more question here. Like thinking logically here, right? I'm the closest well to the system, right? Same water table. It's the same vein.
Yeah.
They're all within 100 feet. Wouldn't it be sufficient to just test my well opposed to testing?
Well, you don't know what's happening underneath, right? You've got rock, you've got fissures in the rock. You don't know where the water's going.
And
So,
I think it's reasonable to a degree, but it's unreasonable to put the burden on me to go knock on someone's door and ask them to test their water.
well,
That's-
I doubt that it's a much of a financial burden,
But it's not,
but it would,
$100. I
it would-
get it.
it would give peace of mind to you and your abutters as to what the water is safe still. And it would give us some proof that we're not changing the environment unnecessarily.
What if the well's already contaminated? What
Pardon
if
me?
I test the first well, couple wells are already contaminated? I
If
mean,
it's already contaminated, then,
I'm sure
we
it is.
shouldn't be using it.
Well, hey, I mean, we don't use it. We barely. we don't
No, but
really-
it wouldn't affect your system. It would simply be valuable information that you should know. If it's already contaminated, that's bad news, but nothing to do with your system.
Now, how do I go about that process, Doc? And they do, I have to test your water.
How do you go about the testing?
Well, I know how to do the testing. I tested the water a couple times already, so. Like, how do I force my neighbor to test their water? It's a weird request.
Well, you can't force them. You can offer to test their well. You can say to them, and we can send them a message saying it's in their interest to have their well tested before and after the installation of the system. And if they
That's
don't
right.
want to do it, don't have
That's
to
right,
do it.
Joe. That's right, Joe. That they can write a letter saying, you know, we would like to test your well at a certain date, certain time. And if they want to have a different time, then they can, you know, write back a certain time that you can have it tested. But I think that's the solution. You can have it tested before, and then once the system is installed, have it tested again and see if the results have changed.
My follow-up question to that is, what if a well becomes contaminated through their own cesspool in their property, into their own water table that they're drinking out of? How am I, now, after I put a new system in, how do you prove that's not my system opposed to their cesspool?
You can't.
Exactly.
So I think what would satisfy me is that the before and after testing showed no change.
Yes, yes.
If there was change subsequent to that in some future time, that shouldn't affect you.
Well, there's a big time frame in that too, right? Like, you know, these are all,
You're not gonna-
most of the houses up there are seasonal, right? So like, they're not using any really water right now, right? Like,
Right.
so now they come up here in the summertime, they got 100 people in their backyard partying, go in the bathroom, flushing the toilet. See, I'm being practical here, right? Like,
Yeah.
it goes in the ground and now it's showing contaminants. Okay, it's a tough baseline. I can see testing it ahead of time and setting a baseline. But like for me to like retest it, not within the same, like, say, 15 days, I think the results would be garbage. I think the data would be not sufficient.
What would you think?
Because
is
when summer
reasonable?
hits and the people start using those homes that are next to me, right? The one across the street and the one to the right, the two people that go to Florida for the winter. And they start coming up here, using the property. And they have open pit cesspools, just like I have, same system, probably the same design. Stuff starts going to the ground. How do I know it's not gonna contaminate the well? When they start using the home. And now they say, now I do a baseline study up front. I test everybody's water up front. I build my system, I let it run for 30 days and retest, and what's the bait,
So you're telling me that the surrounding neighbors are seasonal?
Two of the neighbors one neighbor was to Florida or somewhere, and the other person, yeah, it's seasonal.
So Joe, that means they won't be using their septic system, so they won't be contaminating the well. So I would do what the chairman said, would test it first, install your system, then test it again.
After the system's used, after we start using I mean, like before and after, like how long after? A week, a day, 2 days? We're gonna take a water sample, right? I think we're gonna take a water sample, we're gonna set a baseline for the water quality up on the hill.
Yeah.
We're gonna install the system, right? We're gonna move some earth, put some pipes in the ground, do some excavating, some grading.
Yeah.
Hydro seed, restabilize the property, and then what, the next day I do the testing again? Or do I wait a certain duration of time before the test is complete?
Well, I would certainly think you'd want to wait a certain period of time for the system to be in use before it was tested again.
It usually takes a month for a system to start up,
Yeah, so
to grow the biomat underneath the
Is-
septic leach area.
I'm no expert on this, and it's consequently
I'm not, that's why I
somewhat,
hired this guy.
somewhat arbitrary. But a month sounds like a perfectly reasonable length of
Yes.
time.
Yes.
But now we're getting into July, because by the time, so I have to test the water, come back to another hearing. I was trying to understand the timeline here. Come back to another
Joe,
hearing.
you don't have to come back for another hearing. You just submit the results to the Board of Health. There's no more hearings once they approve and you install the system. And then you go for an as-built with a certificate of compliance saying the system was built according to the plan. That's it, Joe. All you have to do is test the water once, get it functioning, and after a month, again.
So I'm gonna send some certified mailers out. Hopefully they respond, the neighbors. If they don't respond and say in a certain amount of time to test their water, or if they're not, the house is not, it's vacant until May or June or July. I have to wait till all the samples come back, right? I'm just trying to get a timeline for construction, that's all. like living on my mother-in-law's.
Well, you
couch right
can, I mean, if the houses aren't occupied now, obviously it would probably be difficult to get
now. Yeah,
samples.
that's what I'm saying.
How many of the houses are occupied? How many of those wells are in use?
There's one occupied across the street and there's a house for sale next to me that no one lives in.
So if you make
Which
a
is this
good.
lot right here. That
to
lot's
test
not being
many of them
occupied.
as you can. I think that's reasonable. I don't want to delay you from,
I don't either. I've been out of this house for a year. You understand that the expense I've been living like a gypsy the last, like, since May. So that's why my frustration is coming from.
Sure, I think that the chairman is being very reasonable to you just to test the water and test it after it starts functioning. I mean,
Can we
that's
send
a
us-
reasonable request.
With the request, and if they don't respond to the mailer or respond to a certain timeline, I don't know, knock on their door every 5 days, they're like begging to test the water. I just don't want to get into a situation where, I need a timeline.
so Leslie, would you be willing to send out the requests?
Yeah.
I think rather than putting the burden on you, it might be, we might get more compliance if people are there, if it comes from the department.
And hopefully the before and after shows that actually, if anybody did have a contaminated well, that it would actually improve with this new system, right?
Sure.
I think you rewrite Title V to investigate cesspools, and they should get phased out at a certain point, because I'm the only person on the hill now that's not contaminating the ground after this. I mean, in the end, right? I mean, they chase the wrong carrot once in a while, I'm a practical person, man. I build hundreds of megawatts of solar.
But until the
system.
system is in failure, it's, people would be very upset if we went around to everyone that had a working system and said, you've got to fix it when it isn't broken.
Title V is a financial burden on a lot of residents in Massachusetts right now. It's like, it's a big expense,
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's all I'm saying. Thank you. I
Sharon, can I
appreciate
say
it.
one thing?
That's reasonable.
Sir,
Can I say one thing?
sure.
Yeah, you know that the work that you're doing here, there's city provided loans that are very reasonable and can support a lot of the costs that you're
My
doing
income
here.
was too high when I applied for it, so
I'm sorry?
the income level was so low, we wouldn't
I see.
got it, so, it won't work.
Thank
Yeah, I appreciate that though. We already tried that route. It should be 0% for any income level. Or you get punished for making a little more money than the next guy, but you do.
So are there any other comments from anyone? No one on
There's no one else on.
any other comments?
No, thank you.
Otherwise, I would move that we approve the proposed variances at 50 Hilltop Road with the provision that as many of the wells as is feasible get tested before and after the installation of the system. And after being up to the discretion of the engineer, but I think the suggestion of a month is a reasonable reasonable time. And the department, Leslie Whalen the sanitarian will send out notice to the well owners at 55, 53, and 40 Hilltop. That it would be in their interest to have their wells tested before and after the installation of the system. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Eric. Any further discussion? All in favor? Eric?
Eric, yes.
Marco?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So. Proceed.
Well, I don't.
Thank
I'm
you
just
for your time.
So if they don't answer have a response. in
Thank
30
you for
days.
your time, Chairman, and the members of the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you.
It
Bob.
was very nice meeting you all.
So if they don't return the mailers in a certain amount of time, do I just test the 2, 3, or 4 with response? That's sufficient, okay?
Is it all right for me to leave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much.
Sorry for being difficult, just I've dealt with since like May, it's been a long time coming.
I'm getting to the apes, I'm gonna say.
I'll probably be DPW if my road back Sunday. Where are the DPWs?
Thank you very much. We don't thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. We're on to committee report. The septic subcommittee.
You can change the order of the agenda, Mr. Chair.
Is there anything else to report on the septic subcommittee?
In your packet is the draft minutes.
Yeah,
I can find the page number.
It's page 9, starting on page 9.
Page 9, if anybody. So at the last septic subcommittee meeting in February, we had this same conversation.
Yep.
50 Hilltop Road. We also had 190 Atlantic Street where a septic system was approved, also with well setbacks, but they were greater than 100 feet away. So that was an easier request. And 19 Cole Ave subdivision, they requested to withdraw their variance request, and that was granted for a subdivision that had been proposed within the drinking water watershed for, is it Wallace Pond, I think? And those were sort of the highlights of that meeting.
good. Any other comments on the committee meeting, Eric?
Sorry.
No?
No.
Health directors, recap. This is a new term. First, I should also say, not jokingly, but the new presentation, first, Gabby, are you responsible for this? This is
I think it's Dominique primarily, but
Dominique, this
A
is,
shared
this is
vision.
terrific. This is infinitely better than,
Good, I'm glad.
what we were putting that staff through previously.
And hopefully easier to navigate. I haven't seen anybody flashing papers back and forth, but maybe it'll start now. We're about to be on page 13, but just to give you an update from my standpoint, what we've been working on is a few different things, but I wanted to start with an update for the board on the results of the Q1 water test. The DPW, we're working in conjunction with the DEP, does regular testing across the city. And one of the things that they do is test water quality. And this particular report that came out in Q1 of 2024, for Q1 2024 is just released. And it showed that we had sodium levels that were, 46.6 milligrams per liter versus what the expected sodium levels should be about 20 milligrams per liter. And important to understand per DEP that, this does not require any additional treatment to the water supply. In speaking with our city experts and, the folks that are in charge of all of this, this sodium level has been in our water for many years. We have always exceeded it, and the DEP is aware of us always exceeding it. What they do say, however, is that it's pretty important for us to let people know who are sodium sensitive. And so our public health nurse followed up with the Department of Public Health on, sort of resources for the same. And we have a phone number that folks can call to ask questions. We've asked local physicians for input. But we propose that we're gonna, regularly post these test results on the site, and when these levels, if they continue to be high, we'll, with every release, we'll post them on our website and alert local HCPs and patients about the numbers, and see if if anybody's would like to have any more information, we can refer them to the right resources to do so. I also wanted to, and the engineering team wanted me to remind everybody that there are annual water quality test results that are published by the city that go into great detail. And so there's not an answer as to why these sodium levels are high. But rest assured that the DEP is aware of it and not concerned, and beyond our information briefing to everybody who, for those who might be sodium sensitive, we really don't have any other action to take on it. But I did want to be sure, since we were briefed, and that's now the protocol will in turn brief you all on the results and the public as well.
It's still about, if using seawater as a standard, 20 mg per liter is 1,000 times, more than 1,000 times less concentrated in sodium chloride
Then the sea.
than the sea. And so 46 is going to be 500 times or whatever.
Yeah.
Gloucester's water is still considered soft, but it is above the guideline, so it is reported out.
So any questions on that before I continue on?
Now I'm happy.
Sorry, sir?
Now I'm happy.
Now you're happy? Okay, good. It's important. In other news, what I've been spending my time on this last month is, onboarding Gabby, getting her up to speed on, the concerns of the department, and you'll be hearing more from her on that. Certainly hiring Gabrielle, and now onboarding Gabrielle, and we are interviewing for an assistant health inspector, and the search goes on for a public health nurse, although we have some interesting prospects on that front. I've also been working very hard on the budget and working with my team on the budget as well, trying to get our arms around the numbers that were in there from last year. Why were they there? We ended up eliminating a lot. But we also ended up adding some pretty significant things. But the good news is we're, as of today, it's in the system, and we start to meet with various leaders around the city explaining what our thoughts are and where we need the money. And I'm happy if you all are interested to sort of catch you up on where our proposed spend is. But the big change is making sure that we have the right number of people in our department, making sure that we have the right funds to support effective external communications, because I think that's a very important thing that we need to do in working with the public. And then making sure that all of our department is armed with the right tools and education that they need to do their jobs well. So those are the, sort of material changes that we're looking for. I've also made progress. I'd hoped to say that we kicked off our needs assessment project by now, because we've been trying to make that happen for a while, but the procurement process is pretty heavy because of them being federal funds and how they have to be managed, and how the proposals have to be scrutinized. But we're through all that, and we now have contracts in place that are signed by our suppliers, and they're rooting around the city now for Counter SIG. So I'm really optimistic that we'll be able to start that. And what that will be is focusing on our community organizations like Action and others, and talking with the leaders of those organizations about the needs of Gloucester constituents post-COVID, and understanding how things might have changed and what services might be required. And that's going to be the kickoff point for us to be able to understand how the Department of Health can add value in those gap areas, or support, going after grants that can help these community organizations better serve our people as well. I've also continue to meet with community organizations and learn more about how things are being run in the city, and there's a lot more work to do there. But every single meeting I have, common themes are coming out, and that's going to feed into some of our work that we're doing too on the discovery side. So that's where I've been spending my time: hiring, onboarding, budget, and trying to get the health and services side of our department, kickstarted. And reworking your deck so you guys can navigate it and have a nice, easy read, hopefully. So that's it for me. And Chairman, can I hand it over to regulatory reporting side of things now?
Sure.
And ask Gabby to give us a summary of what she's been up to, or
Segueing from what Dominique spoke of, we're focusing our attention.
page 13, by the way.
Sorry, page 13. Page 13. Focusing our attention on how we can improve the quality of services we're providing to the community, our efficiency and effectiveness in doing the inspectional services. So there are multiple automation projects underway outlined here. And one of the exciting things that happened just before we came is 2 pieces of inspectional software were uploaded and are now going to be able to be trained upon in next week. That is for food inspections and housing inspections that will allow real-time data entry, signing off and delivering that information to the folks who are inspecting so they can get quick action to resolve any issues. And we're really, really excited about that. Some of the other pieces that we're working on is bringing Leslie's work into the online viewpoint. That is probably, hasn't even really entered the queue yet, but that's something we'll be bringing forth in future meetings where we are with that. And then similarly, other pieces of that, pump out records, Title V reports, will all be automated, which would be very, very exciting for us.
And if I may, what's really important about these projects are not that we're automating, but it's driving quality and efficiency, taking into account when we're going to ask for dollars, and I'm saying that even, with this, as we're improving, this will allow us to focus in these areas. So it's really pretty critical baseline foundational work that will help us really improve all over.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I mean, it all sounds good to me. I mean, having easily accessible records of things like pump outs and how many times things are inspected. And one of the last inspection was having that easily accessible, I would imagine is valuable.
Yeah, it saves us a lot of time.
And these food code and housing code pro softwares, I presume are improvements over what you currently have. Is that? Yeah.
No, we haven't started yet, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
It will be a complete game changer.
Yes.
Bree, did you use it in your other city?
No, but I've seen the tutorials and I'm very excited.
Okay.
Good.
We continue down the
Yeah.
order here. All right, wonderful. So next up, we'll hear from Jake on food safety.
Okay, agenda item 9 on page 14, we had 1 call and complaint, 34 inspections, 2 re-inspections due to violations, and 0 events inspected this year, this month. We had 1 complaint from an anonymous caller at a local grocery store, saying that there was no hot water in certain sections of the store. So we arrived on scene, noticed that certain departments of the store had no hot water, spoke with the manager. Manager discussed that they had a hot water heater go down. So they had a plumber coming, so we had to shut down certain sections of the store. Within a couple hours, the manager called back and hot water was restored and the operation could resume. During an inspection of the local hotel, we had issues with the grease traps in the kitchens. So we ended up contacting, the fog inspector for Viola. Viola being the water consultant for the city, requesting all pump out records and cleaning records of the traps and all of the lines. We've been waiting for contact back from him after numerous times, waiting for that material. But as of yesterday, post report being written, we received the pump out and the cleaning reports and the action items from the establishment. So moving right along.
Any questions on Jake? Well, all right. Jake, did you want to talk about Narcan or SCAC?
The regular special events advisory committee and trying to help distribute Narcan throughout the city through Whitsunday.
Okay. Next we'll hear from Brand Turco, housing inspector.
So first page, page 16 is just a little overview. former board members have seen it, but for Aaron, just to give an overview, says you know a little bit of what I do, but not everything, just gives a little overview of every little bit of everything that I do. And on page 17, you'll see my report's a little different than in the past, but just again, showing an overview of the permits that I review, inspections that I perform, and complaints received. So I do have two highlights of complaints that are not included in the 4 housing complaints that I have. One of them was from September that has just kind of been escalated since September. It's building departments involved, the fire inspector is involved, and our legal counsel is involved, and that has been in court. So that is just a longer issue that is continuing on that I'm dealing with currently. And we also had another multi-departmental case that happened just last week, and that was also involving building department, my health department, and fire, as well as our legal counsel, of a demolition that happened without permits. So that is going to be an ongoing long process. DEP was also involved with that as well. So just
Can you
some
elaborate
highlights.
just a little bit one? Do you all know about it or not really? It's interesting to hear about.
The demo.
Yeah.
So the building department got called out over after hours by National Grid that they had been asked to cut the gas and electric to a property that had already been demoed. So they realized that there were no demo permits pulled, called up the contractor, stop work orders were put up. They had permits for a interior demo and removing the roof. And the story is that while they were removing the roof, it was unstable and they just decided to demo it and remove everything, no asbestos.
While we're doing this room, we might as well do that.
Yeah, so no asbestos testing was done. So hence why I had immediately called DEP prior to even knowing if asbestos, I didn't see any asbestos work that had been done. And in all of this, DEP had requested that they hire an asbestos inspector to do testing of what was left. There was barely anything left, but it did come back positive for some asbestos material. So DEP currently has the site also completely shut down while they do remediation work to bring it into compliance with DEP, and then they'll be able to move forward with everything else. So we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks probably for DEP to be finished with their stuff.
Lovely.
So it's going to be a long continuous process. And yes, if you have any questions on anything else.
All right, so back to Leslie.
So page 18, agenda item 9, my report. My report looks different than in months past in that in talking with Dominique, she's asking us to keep track of the numbers of each of the categories of tasks that come in, and to try to get a sense of like how long it takes from when something comes in, how much time it takes us to work on it and to complete it. So you'll see some of these categories at the bottom. It'll say, let's see, what's an example? At any rate, it's sort of a work in progress. We're trying to, like I said, keep track of the flow. So some of these numbers we'll talk about, like septic plan review, 10 in process. One plan was received, not yet reviewed. So this will probably continue to change as we come up with the best way to measure and report, so that we can then show where we have a need, right? If we're only able to move through a certain amount of
Yeah,
tasks.
exactly. Collecting this kind of data, as I'm sure Dominic has probably beaten you up over all the
No, I'm
about generating the data is important for her to be able to go to the administration and say, look, we've got all this work, only one person working on it. You can't do it. So that's,
And what we're also trying to do is have a concept of service and service quality. So
sure.
it's you know, what's coming in the door and having visibility into it. So what's coming in the door, what are we working on, what's taking all the time, and then what are we closing out, so that we can understand, you know, where there's opportunities for improvement, where there's opportunities to split up work, divide it. Everybody here has just been working so hard, heads down, and this is difficult to get to, so I really, really appreciate the effort that's been going into it. The more we automate, the more these numbers will just be automatic, which is also gonna be nice. But it's definitely giving me the information I need to be able to speak to the administration about the number of folks we need on the team. And we're making progress, but there's still a lot of holes of, like, you know, where are things while they wait, you know? And I think it's important for us to have, you know, transparency into that, so we can decide if that's just the reality of how we want to operate, or if we had more people, we wouldn't have to operate that way. And is it in keeping with law or local regulation? So it's been difficult to add that to the plate, but it's because I always promise these guys I'll only give them back time. But in this situation, I think I'm taking some of their time to help us in the end get more time back. So
Are we trying to get Leslie more help?
yes, we're trying to get the entire department more help. Yes.
I'm assuming this system is new of how everything's being broken out.
It's
based on
evolved,
what
yeah,
happened before.
yeah. What do you ask the question, Erin?
I'm just curious, because this was when I was looking through it before, it's very clear cut and looking at the number of what was going on, and it was incredible to see the number of inspections and things that were happening. I was just really surprised in knowing so few folks are behind the scenes doing
Yeah.
these things. I think it paints a very clear picture, and I think in terms of any sort of systems change, they'll be really clear where those bogs are happening and trying to work them out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it paints a clear picture of just being able to look at it and get an understanding, so it's great.
Anything in sanitation you want to call out?
Just that I'm really
Just in
looking
case.
forward to getting viewpoint for the plan reviews and the construction permits for septic systems, because there's just a lot of detail of making sure that we get every document that we need, and it's very intensive with paperwork. So I'm hoping that if it's all on a computer system that the applicant and we get to see, and when the builder says, hey, what's holding it up? We say, just go look online. You can see what we're missing. And get them trained in that, as opposed to having to always be answering, what's the status? Where is it? What's holding it up? That kind of inquiry takes up a lot of staff time, people walking in and interrupting everybody's work, so.
Well, it's always interesting. It's never a dull or boring. So thanks, Leslie, and thanks to all the inspectional services folks. Next up is Cindy catching us up on communicable disease, and Cindy has very little voice left. She's a little bit like Kathleen Turner right now.
I'm pretty good right now. It's
Good.
when I start talking that I get that way.
Okay.
I've been sick for the past couple weeks, so you can look that it starts out with infectious disease monthly report. So February, we had a 92.5% of our state reported infectious diseases were respiratory related. And I just want to bring you up to today. In looking at March data, it's continuing. Right now, it's 97.53% of our infectious diseases for the month of March are respiratory, and especially influenza. So today I got several cases of influenza, and it looks to me, if you look on page 22, our year is comparing to the 19 to 20 year when it comes to influenza. So of that 97.53% of the cases that we're seeing right now of respiratory, 70.73 are influenza. And today I looked and I had only seen influenza A up to last week, and now I have almost 20% of the cases are influenza B. So it's interesting to note. And I just wanted to let you know that CDC has recommended additional doses of the 23-24 COVID-19 vaccine at least 4 months after the first dose for people over 65 and those who have any kind of immune deficiency. Also Paxlovid, which is underutilized. is now no longer free to people. However, they do have a website that people can go to get it paid for. It's called Paxos Patient Portal, and they will help to bear the cost for the individual who it's not covered for. We have continued to distribute our Narcan kit, which I'm very excited that we are doing, and Jake has helped because he is a trusted member of the community. And so when he goes to restaurants or to the shops or the stores that he goes to, he's been giving them out there and they've been accepting. So I'm happy about that. I've also been training people in CPR and first aid and giving them out to those people as well. And I trained the engineering department and the IT department a couple weeks ago. So now they're all manned with it as well. Importance. March 24th is World TB Day, so we'll have something on the website that people can look and see how TB is spread and how it can be treated, and so I just wanted to promote that.
Today is Pi Day.
Oh.
Right.
Well, that's much nicer than TB. And last month I went to the elder housing units, the elder housing units. And I spoke to them about healthy living, talked about like low sodium, low fat diets. I did exercises with them, and in my visits with them, we discovered that they would like more of that. And I don't have the capacity right now to be spending time doing exercise classes with them, but at least there was someone there from the senior center, and they became aware that this is an issue there as well. They also talked about having difficulties getting to the senior center because they'd have to be on the bus for like an hour. So it brought up a lot that was happening. Also, while I was there, I discovered that many of them don't have these file of life. So I am working with Gail Campbell from the Housing Authority, and we are going to take these around and help them have people, keep them on their refrigerators, because when you're incapacitated, it's good to have the information for the family, and it would have all of their emergency contacts, their medical data, their medications that they're currently taking. So it's important that you do these in pencil because they change regularly. So they are actually, Gail's picking them up tomorrow, and she's going to start distributing them among the public housing units for the people to keep on their refrigerator. And I told her I would help if people needed help filling these out. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I think that's-
Thanks, Cindy.
I think that's it.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
yeah, sure.
Just want to thank you for the Narcan.
Oh,
Yours last
Oh,
time.
you're
I actually
welcome.
unfortunately had to use it.
you did. We'll
Yeah.
come back and get another one.
I have plenty of them.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I just want to stress the importance of knowing how to use it because, thankfully the person's fine, but it was a
Very nice.
just happened to be in the right place at the right time situation. So you can't hurt someone by giving it.
No, you can't.
So, if you ever think maybe, just give it.
I'll bring one for you.
I have a plenty.
Oh,
I
you
was
have
gonna,
plenty.
yes.
Oh,
we're-
that's right.
Yeah, we're now a community distribution.
Oh, good.
plan,
Oh, you
actually,
are
which
as
is
well, too.
fabulous. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
good.
waiting on our first delivery. I was just curious what the reception has been from businesses in terms of providing them with it. If there's been any
Everybody-
pushback or resistance at
No,
all.
not really.
Oh, that's great to
Everybody
hear.
just says, thank you very much, we'll throw this in the drawer kind of thing.
In the current climate where
Yeah.
it's nice
Right.
to have everywhere.
Yeah.
It's Gloucester.
Yeah, summertime
Yeah.
approaching, everybody flooding the town and everything like that.
Well, the thing
No,
is,
that's
I think
great.
that we all have a different sector of the community that we're dealing with. And like I said, they trust Jake. And when I'm teaching my classes, if I give it out, they're trusting me. They're interested. They want to know how to use it. And it's very easy to use, and you're saving someone's life.
Community Impact Unit
Yeah.
has them,
Yes.
Open Door, not Open Door, One Stop is also.
Yes.
Distributing, so.
Are we giving them more than one kid?
So what we're giving is we are giving one that has a couple in it.
The two doses.
Two, yeah.
I'm just wondering, because on the.
They can come back at any time and get more. I'd be willing
Wait,
to,
I'm sorry, Marco, is your concern that we should give out more?
I would say yes, because, a lot of times patients are not, responding to just one.
oh no, there's more than one.
No, I know, yeah, what I mean is
Okay.
like, sometimes they need three
I know,
or more,
yeah,
so.
I've been aware of that.
And that's important to know for training as well. And we can get access to them, so I don't know, I mean, if we should be giving out more, we should give out more because. You know,
So I will talk to them in Boston
Yeah.
and see what their recommendations are.
Usually two is good.
Yeah, 2 usually
Yeah.
does it. Although I've talked to many police on scene who said they've had to give 3.
What's out, the fentanyl is
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, fentanyl's
So,
very,
And I think the xylazine is also improved
Yes.
on people's respiratory system,
Mhm.
so they might be revived by Narcan, but they're still in the past too.
Right.
They're still being put out by tranquilizers.
scary.
So thank you.
tough subject.
You're welcome, thank you.
On the topic of Narcan, our North Shore Youth Leaders actually just made a video regarding fentanyl with the Fent Alert Challenge. So we recently just shared it because it's pretty awesome and they do use Narcan in the video. So you should hear more about that. in a
Is it
month.
finished, the video?
Yeah, it's finished. It's posted. We sent it in.
So can you slow down and speed up a little bit, like help you
Yeah.
guys understand what the, what the cause was, how you did it, and.
Yeah.
And by the way, David Tucker is on the prevention team, Chelsea's on holiday.
Yeah.
He's up next anyways.
Yeah, so our North Shore Youth Leaders, which is our group that's combined with our 7 communities, Danvers, Beverly, Rockport, Manchester, Essex, Ipswich, Gloucester. And so we have a bunch of kids from all those communities and they decided to participate in a SAMHSA challenge, which is called the Fent Alert Challenge, which is you can do art.
SAMHSA being,
SAMHSA being a federal grant.
thank you.
That's absolutely awesome. And we actually have one of their grants as well, to Gloucester, which is the PFS grant. Yeah, and we decided to use the video aspect instead of doing art because the kids all wanted to do it together. They wrote a script by themselves. We typed it up while they were talking. And we reached out to ICAM in Ipswich and they wanted to help us out any way we could. So we filmed it and posted it on YouTube and shared it out and then sent it in and they decided to open it up for another month. So now we have to wait a whole nother month to see who wins.
You wanna take it back and keep editing it.
Yeah, I know, we could have. All the kids were mad. I told them today and they're like, what? We could have kept editing it. Because we're all worried it
Tell them
was
what the
cringe.
plot is though, David, tell them the plot.
The plot, yes. So it's based off of a mother and son talking and watching TV when a news alert comes up with a son who passes away due to an overdose. And the mother gives the son a box of Narcan and says, you never know if you're ever gonna use it, you can use it at school. Son fights back on mom saying, nobody's using fentanyl in my school. You're crazy, mom. And goes to school the next day, talks to a friend about getting some weed to smoke. And his friend was gonna go to a sketchy dealer. He said, I don't want that weed. I'll get it from my brother. Gets it from his brother, ends up going to a party later that night, smokes the weed. And even his brother's weed, he didn't know was laced with fentanyl and he let his friend smoke it. And sadly, his friend overdosed while they were downstairs fixing the music. Came upstairs and luckily had Narcan in his bag. The kids wanted to make sure that they knew and taught how to bring somebody back if they are having an overdose. We used one of our testers and used it in the video. And yeah, it was very awesome that the kids wanted to do that. And it's great to see what's happening next with them.
Written, directed.
Yeah, written,
All by-
directed, all
all
by
by
them.
you.
Where do
all
we
by me.
find this?
So it is on our GYLC YouTube channel. It's simply Gloucester Youth Leadership Council. You can also find it on our North Shore Youth Leaders Instagram. We do not have a Facebook yet, so we went ahead and shared it as Gloucester Youth Leadership Council, even though it is a North Shore Youth Leaders
Can
Dominic,
we
can you
send
put
this
that,
to
put
Cynthia?
that in a
Yeah,
minute so
I'll
I
send it to you.
can watch it?
Yeah, we can most
I'd
definitely send it to you guys.
like to watch it, yeah.
It's awesome. The kids are worried about how many views it's gonna get. They're like, oh, how many views does it have? I'm like, I don't know yet. And we're like, oh, I hope it's not a lot. I'm like, dude, it's awesome. Like, you want it to be seen. But GYLC itself has done a immense amount of PSAs, and we're talking about doing some great campaigns currently, which is on the prevention sheet. Our middle schoolers are very passionate about substance misuse, and substance use with youth is a huge problem for them, so they're very interested in that. And it's funny enough that our high schoolers are actually interested in a kindness campaign. So it's quite reversed of what I thought would happen, but it's what they're dealing with right now. We met tonight with the high schoolers, came up with a logo and a slogan, which I do not have off the top of my head. The middle schoolers came up with the logo and slogan that was "Drug no, happiness go." Which I thought was awesome. They were just like saying stuff. I'm like, wait, what'd you just say? I'm like, that was awesome. Yeah, and while going down the list, we trained 12 instructors in teen mental health first aid to be able to instruct the entire 10th grade of Gloucester High School. It is a crazy feat, but we're doing it. Dan and our team went in there yesterday and did the first in-person class. I believe last week on the 6th, the 6th. They did their first round of online prep work, and we were unaware of a 20-minute quiz that had to be done prior. So they did a little work while we did the in-person training on Wednesday. But yeah, continuing down, we have our family and community speaker series partnered with Gloucester Public Schools. The next one is on March 28th at 5:30 with Dr. Stuart Avalon talking about collaborative problem solving. We recently had one on February 6th with Sarah Ward, where we had our GYLC youth council volunteering there, helping out, and had a resource fair there as well. We do have one upcoming in May, on May 1st, with Kathy and Chris Sullivan, talking about substance use and underage drinking prevention.
David, if I could interrupt for a minute,
Yeah.
I was on the Ipswich Aware call the other day and they
Yeah.
just had them speak at the school.
Yeah.
And the kids are just, can't stop talking about it, like it's hugely impactful. Could you tell these guys what the topic is,
Yeah.
the two speakers?
So I can definitely hit more on Kathy's story. As opposed to Chris. Chris was a previous NFL Patriots football player who sadly had to stop playing due to his substance use problems. Kathy had an amazing daughter who went to the woods to party with a bunch of friends and sadly found herself wandering off and drowned in a body of water. And she tells her story about how the night happened and what went on from there. Yeah, the kids absolutely loved it in Ipswich, so we're very excited to get it in Gloucester High School. It's going to be done. We're going to try and get it there done during lunches too. So we'll see how it goes. That way the kids can get the point of view as well as the parents in the afternoon. But absolutely amazing. Amy, Cam, Dan, Chelsea, they took lead on this like crazy and have been killing it with the speakers they got. Dan had a whole spreadsheet. It was great to see. Yeah. We recently applied for an additional service grant. It's the Partnership for Success federal grant. We submitted it on February 21st. It is for $375,000 a year, partnered with our 7 communities. Beverly helped us a lot in getting it in. Chelsea did a lot, and we also had a grant writer help us go through that process. On the Healthy Aging Grant, Seniors on the Go operates trips every Monday with Rosalie. Rosalina Castro is amazing, and she is the program assistant for the Seniors on the Go bus. Rosalie is also working on a partnership with Council on Aging to run this program. Awesome, that's all I got. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff.
So I think that concludes the team.
That's it. Concerns of the board. Any board member have something they want to add at the end of the meeting
I
tonight?
I just have a question.
Yep.
Is anything happening with that Conlon Road?
No, we have heard nothing. There's been no update. And Aaron, just briefly, there's a construction and demolition, transfer station being proposed for a site on Concord Road, and it's gonna hit us right before the holidays, and, a public hearing with a lot of formality to it. It just suddenly dropped, they just suddenly stopped and are reconsidering a lot of things, so there's no action yet. But I forced these guys to like focus on, I feel so terrible, like the day after we had this intense meeting to get fully briefed, the applicant. with-
Hiring lawyers and all that.
It was intense. It was like a 3-hour meeting or something.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be like the next day, we were gonna hear from the
Yes.
DEP and we had to get rolling and, but then they just.
I'll keep asking because
Yeah.
I'm curious to
I'm
see
sure it's
what
coming
happens.
back. I mean, they haven't withdrawn their application. They're working on it. Yeah. So we don't know what's coming back, but I'll let you know as soon as it happens.
Anything else? No. Thanks to all of you. Meeting adjourned. Public hearing ended.
Right.
Shut up the, boom. So-
Taking, that's